forgiving somebody else and forgiving yourself is simply just allowing yourself to rid those negative feelings that will have you stuck in a very low place. It's simply just releasing those feelings and allowing yourself to move forward and allowing yourself to be happy in life. Hey y'all, it's Kiki. Welcome back to my channel. The topic of forgiveness is such a weird topic because a lot of people don't agree with forgiving other people. Some people think you should forgive other people. Some people struggle with forgiving themselves, and so on and so forth. I'm a person who is not afraid to say that I can sometimes hold a lot of grudges. But after the years, especially years of resentment and anger and sadness and so many other negative feelings or just bad feelings that I was harboring inside, I realized that if I did not go ahead and start forgiving, that my healing journey would just be at a standstill. I'm gonna break down some ways that not only help me to forgive other people, but to also forgive myself, because forgiving yourself is one of the most important things. So let's get into it. Okay, the first thing is address the issue. A lot of the times things happen. We get betrayed by people, we get lied on, we get talked about, we get abused. A lot of things happen, and sometimes subconsciously we bury those feelings. You know what I mean? Not even knowing that we're doing it. We just try to distract ourselves from the pain that, that situation caused us, and before we know it, we've buried it deep. If we don't address the issue, then the feelings of that situation just rush right to the surface whenever we end up running into somebody, or we end up having a situation that triggers us or that kind of reminds us of that pain or that trauma that we've been trying to hide from. Figure out what it is that's causing you to have resentment and have anger and feel some type of way and be sad and be depressed, whatever the case is. Figure out that thing and address it. Don't try to run from it. Don't try to hide from it. Actually address it head on. The only way you can get over something is if you go through it. That whether it be betrayal or your friends or your family or a relationship or childhood trauma, relationship trauma, job trauma. Address it and really be honest with yourself about it. I had an incident where basically I buried something really, really deep down because I was just so hurt by it, but it also caught me off guard that I almost didn't want to believe that it had happened. And so I had buried it so deep. And it wasn't until about 3-4 years later that I realized that this thing that I tried to forget so bad rushed back up to the surface, and I was forced to deal with it. And in that moment, I realized, okay, I've been running from this thing for years. It's time that I address it, because if I keep running from it, it's gonna keep following me everywhere I go anyways. And I'm trying to heal so that I can have better relationships with myself, better friendships, better romantic relationships, and so on and so forth. The next thing I will say is to allow yourself to go through the motions. If you feel sadness, express it however you feel the need to express it. If you're sad, cry. If you're angry, cuss about it, yell about it, go break something, scream about it. Say whatever it is you need to say. Release it however you need to release it, as long as you are not harming anybody. I have to specify that, because some people will hear you say release that anger and they'll go and punch somebody in the face. I'm not approving of any type of violence, okay? Normally when we release things or these type of emotions, they always end up coming out in a way that we never wanted to release them in the first place. I know for me, as emotional as I am and as sensitive as I am, I don't like to cry, but that's one of the best ways for me to release whatever built up feelings I have. If yours is crying, write a letter to whoever you feel betrayed by, cuss them out, hell, do whatever it is you need to do, but allow yourself to go through the motions. If you go up, if you go down, one moment you're happy, one moment you're sad. If your sadness lasts for about 2 days, but on that 3rd day you can finally pick yourself back up, you have to allow yourself to go through whatever you need to go through so you can get past that thing that you've been holding on for so long. The next thing that I would recommend is shadow work. Shadow work kind of helps you address that thing if you don't know where to start. And a lot of us don't know where to start, especially when it comes to our healing journey and trying to move forward. For me personally, I get my shadow work prompts off of Pinterest. There's a few on YouTube. You can get them from like TikTok. I've been seeing lately a shadow work book trending on TikTok. A lot of people have been buying it. I will go and maybe look on Amazon or Walmart or Target to find, something that really helps to kind of kick that off. But I recommend shadow work when it comes to forgiving and when it comes to really just jumpstarting your healing journey. Those are one of the things that helped me tremendously. I have a whole journal dedicated to shadow work that I started back in 2020, and it's filled from the front to the back. And so, shadow work is a big help if you need somewhere to start from, if you don't know where to start, to help you kind of get through it. The next thing I said, which I kind of already talked about, but it's important to release. You have to let it go. Once you go through the motions, you cannot hold on to those emotions. I know that I have my moments when I'm angry about something and I'm upset about something. And I want so bad to hold on to that anger, but then it passes. Either I've talked about it or I've prayed about it or I've cried about it, whatever, and I feel the anger pass. Sometimes we want to hang on to it because we want to feel validated in our anger and we want to feel validated in our trauma. We want somebody to take accountability for what they did to us and we want apologies. But I'm here to say, you're most likely not going to get that apology. You're most likely not going to get that accountability. You're not going to get that conversation that you want so bad. I hate to say it, but I have to be honest. I mean, if you do get it, that will most definitely help you in your healing journey and it will definitely push you, a bit further in your journey. But a lot of us don't get it. I think we have to just accept what we do get, which is the addressing the issue and going through the motions. And once you go through the motions, allow yourself to release it and move forward. Because you have to really think about it. When you hold on to these things that happened in the past, it's almost as if you are living in the past. It's almost as if you're not in the present and you can't look forward to the future because you're so caught up in what happened 3-4 years ago. When you hold on to something that happened 4 years ago, every time you bring up that thing and you sit and dwell on it, just know you just kicked yourself back to 2019. And we're in 2023. You rob yourself of the time you could be spending in the present. You're so caught up in holding on to this thing when it's time to let it go and it's time to release, period. Another thing that I will recommend is also going to therapy or going to talk to somebody, counseling, something like that to try to help you get through these things as well if you feel like you can't do it by yourself. But yeah, releasing is a very important part when it comes to forgiving others and also forgiving yourself. The next thing I would say is to give yourself grace. I've had moments where I thought I've been reminded of a situation and I tell myself bruh, they literally just played in your face and you did nothing about it. You said nothing about it. You did not address it, right? And then we kind of start beating ourselves up about it. When in reality, you can only do better when you know better. So at that time, they might have played in your face and you let it slide because you didn't know how to defend yourself. You didn't know how to stand up for yourself, or you didn't even know how to detect, or you didn't really know how to point out when somebody was really playing with you, or when they was doing you wrong, or when they was betraying you, or when they were manipulating you. So you have to kind of give yourself grace about that. Just remind yourself right now in this moment, especially if you're watching this video, you know better and you're choosing to do better. Back then, you didn't know better. Back then, you might have been younger, naive, a bit gullible, a bit easy to manipulate, but now you're a totally different person. So forgive yourself for that, babe. You didn't have the tools. You didn't have what it took. You didn't know no better. So I mean, you only did what you could. You only did what you knew was best, and that's fine, and that is okay. Trust me. The next thing I will say is this is something that my therapist actually recommended to me. I've been in therapy for the past about 3-4 months now, and I expressed to her how I was harboring a lot of feelings towards a lot of people, a lot of negative feelings. And she said, write a letter to them. Write a letter, do a voice recording or do a video. And really just pretend that you are talking to that person. Really pretend that you are writing that letter to that person. And say everything that you need to say. No matter how foul, no matter how rude, how disrespectful, if your mouth get crazy, if you know, get the cussing a lot, if you start, you know, just really getting to the point to where you never even thought you would say these things, say it. A lot of the times we want to address the people that hurt us, and we want to have these conversations, and you know, we want that accountability, like I said earlier. But really ask yourself, when I go to this person and I let them know what they did to me, I let them know how it made me feel, what am I expecting out of this, right? And then once you figure out what you're expecting from that, then ask yourself, am I really going to get that from this person? Most likely that answer is going to be no. There's no point in trying to take it to them when we already know who we are dealing with. Really ask yourself, are you going to get this accountability? If you're not, if you know you're not, there's no point in sending the video. There's no point in sending the letter. There's no point in sending the voice recording or sending a text message or making a phone call or pulling up on them and having that conversation. But the least you can do for yourself is to go ahead and mock that letter. Go ahead and write that letter, even if it stays in your journal, if it stays in your Google Docs, if it stays in your email, in your fucking video diary for years. At least you allowed yourself to release it. I've written a letter. I'm talking about pages, because I really had a lot to say. I really had a lot to get off my chest. And I'm letting y'all know, this is me. This is just me and how it worked for me. I'm letting y'all know all of the feelings that I had toward them. It was like, I'm not even mad at you no more. I don't want a relationship with you anymore. I don't want to be around you anymore. I don't want to speak to you anymore. But those negative feelings that I once had toward you are not there anymore. And that's what's important. Forgiving somebody else and forgiving yourself is simply just allowing yourself to rid those negative feelings that will have you stuck in a very low place. It's simply just releasing those feelings and allowing yourself to move forward and allowing yourself to be happy in life. The next thing I will say is to make the best decision for you. You don't have to go back and be in those people's faces. You don't have to be in their face again. These people who did you wrong and talked bad about you and lied on you and so on and so forth, unless you want to. But if you don't, babe, that's okay. You can forgive and love them from afar. It's important to make the best decision for you. If you decide to forgive them and never talk to them again, decide to forgive them and cut them off, so be it. If you decide to forgive them and give them another chance, that's your choice too. This is your journey, so it's important that you do what works best for you, not what works best for somebody else. If you find that you are more at peace when you are not around these people, then get from around them and keep doing that. Whatever works best for you, make that decision for you and move accordingly. The next thing I will say, a big step when it comes to forgiving yourself, is to acknowledge the growth and the progress that you've made so far. We get so caught up in the next thing. Okay, what should I do next? What should I be learning next? Where should I be next? What's the next step? But we don't really look back to really acknowledge how far we've come, where we used to be and where we are right now, who we used to be and who we are right now. It's important to give yourself a round of applause and thank yourself for actually making the decision to heal and to go on that journey and to address those hard situations and those demons that you've been fighting and all that good stuff. Don't get so caught up in looking for the next thing that you forget to take a step back and acknowledge how far you've come and just the person you are today. That's very important. The next thing I will say is when it comes to forgiving people, is to not take it personal when things are done to you. Now this is hard, especially for me, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm very sensitive, I'm very emotional, and I have a problem with taking just about everything personal. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, how could you possibly do me like that? Because I would never do you like that, right? But I had to realize when I really sat back and just had to observe not only myself and my emotions, but other people. I had to realize that a lot of the times when people do certain things to us and they say certain things to us, it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with them. You know, even if they try to make it seem like we're the reason why they are the way they are and why they do the things they do, they are the reason why they do the things they do. It's important that you do not blame yourself for the trauma you went through, for the hurt you've experienced, the pain you've experienced. Because the more we blame ourselves, the more we beat ourselves up. And that just puts us in a lower position, and that brings on sadness and depression and feelings of regret and just thoughts of, maybe I should have done this, maybe I could have done that. And before you know it, you've rid yourself of the possible happiness and the peace that you could be experiencing, because you really believe that everything that has been done to you is your fault. It doesn't matter what the situation was. It doesn't matter what it looked like. It's not your fault. I had to really come to terms with this because I felt like I deserved a lot of the things that I've been through because I didn't say no, or I didn't stand up for myself, or I allowed these people into my life, or I called these people friends, or I trusted these people. So I kind of deserved to, get hurt or get betrayed. And no, you did not deserve that. You don't deserve, nobody deserves hurt or pain. It took me a long time to realize that, and even still to this day, I'm still having a hard time believing that I don't deserve certain things, simply because of beliefs that I've had all of my life. But like I said, it's not an overnight process. It definitely takes time, but you will get there. But as long as you're making the effort to get there, that's all that matters. Nothing that someone else does to you or someone else says to you is your fault. It has everything to do with them. Everything to do with them, nothing to do with you, okay? Okay. Lastly, I feel like as a person who struggle with forgiveness, but I also struggle with people pleasing, I felt guilty a lot of the times when I made decisions for myself, and I still do to this day. I'm still working through that, if I'm being honest. In the past, I thought, I'm feeling guilty because that means I've done something that I had no business doing. But now that I'm older, I realize that feeling guilty is just maybe a sign that you finally decided to do something that works best for you, to do something that brings you peace, but you're not used to it. So you feel guilty for doing something that you want to do because you've spent majority of your life doing things for other people and for other people's approval and for the likeness of other people. And now you're doing it for your approval and for the likeness of yourself, and you just can't fathom that, or you're just not used to it. That's just pretty much what it is. I felt like it was important to put this in this video. Whenever you are on your healing journey and you are now making the conscious decision to do what works best for you, what brings you happiness, what brings you peace, and you start to feel guilty, do not equate that with I'm doing something wrong. Just remind yourself, okay, I'm feeling guilty because I'm finally doing something that works for me, and it's just a new feeling. Now, don't be out here just doing stupid stuff now. Don't be out here slapping people around, treating people any kind of way, and then feeling guilty, and then telling yourself, well, that works best for me. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is, you've been so used to saying yes, 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 and you finally said no. And it feels weird because you've never said no before. And you feel guilty for saying no. But the best thing for you to do was to say no. That's what I'm saying. Forgiveness takes a while. Forgiveness is not an overnight process. It's not something that you just read a book about, go to sleep, and then wake up and think, oh my God, I got all the knowledge, I forgive everybody. No, it's a process, y'all. It's not an overnight thing. It takes time. But as long as you show up for yourself, as long as you do what works best for you, and you are actually working towards healing yourself, that is all that matters. Okay, that is all that matters. Prepare to forgive yourself. Prepare to forgive others. I just want to say good luck. I just feel the need to say good luck on your healing journey, because it's not an easy one, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Yeah, that's it for this video. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.